this is Caroline of Caroline's Plans. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. Thank you for stopping by. Today I wanted to set up my notes pages at the beginning of the month of July. I haven't done much with these pages in the past, so I wanted to make them more functional as well as decorative for this year's planner. On the left side of the notes pages is just a blank notes page. I am creating a journaling section with this page. I'm just creating a decorative header there with 2 strips of washi, one thicker rose gold strip, and the one on the bottom is the thinner kind of champagne gold strip. Both of those are from Scotch brand and can be found on Amazon. They will be linked below. My cutting tool is an Excel brand X-Acto knife style tool. It will also be linked below. This layering piece, I believe, is from an old Happy Planner book. Their website will be linked below. And I just wanted to do some layering to create the header for my journaling section. That tape runner is by Tombow. I got it off of Amazon. It will be linked below. I'm just using it because that layering piece, flag looking sticker, wasn't very sticky. So in order to make that work, I needed to add some extra tape to the back. I added on that piece so that it would be a little bit easier to write on, to write in the header name. For this section, I am just using a Sharpie pen in the ultra fine tip size to label this section July Monthly Journal. I plan to use this page to reflect and write down my comprehensive thoughts and reflections once the month of July has ended. I'm not exactly sure what that'll look like, whether it will be writing or have any decorative elements to it. I'm not sure what that'll look like exactly. I'm then pulling out my foil binder bundle, mini binder, that holds all of my Glam Planner foil binder bundles. And I'm using some of the deco pieces from the Golden Hour bundle to decorate that header. Here I'm trying to pull that up because I wanted to reposition it, or because I wanted to add something else. But instead I wound up putting that second asterisk over the top of that deco piece, since I couldn't pull it up, and then those efforts messed up the sticky, so I had to re-stick it with that Tombow tape runner. Then that side is finished, nothing special, and then I used 2 different types of stickies available on Amazon. I used the small pink stickies, which you've probably seen in past videos, to plan out the labels for my different sections on this notes page, as well as the larger blue stickies to outline any more detailed information that I wanted to include in those sections. And here you see me using my slice tool to try and ascertain the middle of the line so I can try to get that header centered. The green Coffee bean printed washi is a leftover from a glam planner kit, and I'm just using that as a background for a couple of my headers on this section. And then I'm using my slice tool. It's an Excel brand cutting tool. It will be linked below, as well as a very old school ruler that I've had for many years to make that cut. A similar ruler will be linked below. I'm then layering a green fancy label, which is another leftover from a glam planner kit, I believe, as a layering piece to create the rest of that header. Then I'm pulling out my Sharpie pen to write in the header name Big Things. I plan to use this section to mark in sort of the big events, birthdays, big things to remember for the month of July. And then I'm using 2 more of those deco pieces from the Golden Hour foil binder bundle from Glam Planner to decorate that header. Pulling up that blue sticky with the information on it that I want to include in that box. And then I'm just using my tweezers. These tweezers are a very old set from Revlon that I've had forever. They will be linked in the description. And then I'm pulling out some large patterned dots in pink and green to indicate each of the items that I want to include in my big things section. I wound up going with a pink and green color scheme for this spread, unintentionally, but it just worked out that way. And here you'll see me struggling to place the dots equidistant from each other, but we get there at the end, I think. And I just alternated pink and green shades throughout that list to use to write in the big events for the month of July. I wound up only having 3 events listed in my pre-planning, so I'll use that bottom dot to write in anything that comes up throughout the month. Then I'm using a pink mild liner to write in the important dates that I wanted to note. They are July 12th, July 17th, and the weeks between July 13th and the 31st. And then I'm pulling out my Pilot G2 in 0.38 black to write in what occurs on each of those events. My friend Taylor's birthday is on the 12th. My husband's best friend's birthday is on the 17th. He was the best man at our wedding. And I have a professional development event that occurs on the weekdays between July 13th and 31st that I wanted to note. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm leaving that bottom dot empty for anything that comes up throughout the month. Pulling in another strip of that champagne colored thinner washi to cover up that purple line, using my slice tool and ruler to help me make that cut straight. And then we are moving on to my reading list section. This is where I will make note of the books that I either am reading or want to start reading in the month of July. I'm pulling in 2 small strips of extra leftover foil, or not foil, floral, excuse me, washi strips from an old Glam Planner kit to make the background for the header for this section. I'm just moving these strips around a little bit to make them fit properly behind the fancy label that I'm going to use to write in the header name. I believe that this fancy label is also a Glam Planner leftover in sort of this pinky purpley mauve color. I thought that that color, as well as the color in these floral strips, went well with sort of the pink and green scheme that I'm going for. Pulling out my Sharpie pen again to write in my reading list header there. And then I'm just pulling out 2 more pieces of that Golden Hour deco and my tweezers to decorate that header a little bit. I also pulled in a leftover piece of deco from the same coffee shop kit that coffee bean washi came from to decorate my reading list header. You just saw me white out that dotted line with my Bic whiteout. I got a pack of 10 on Amazon. They will be linked below. I'm using my Tombow tape runner to put a little bit of tape on each of those dots, since the green dots that I wanted to use had lost some of their sticky, being pulled out of my leftover stash. These larger green dots are leftovers from an old Shop Jessica Hearts kit, and then I'm just using my fingers to try to clean up a little bit of the excess tape runner so that my pages don't stick together later, hopefully. And I just used each of those dots to mark in either a book that I'm reading currently or want to start reading. The novel that I'm currently reading is The Silkworm, which is the second in the Cormoran Strike detective series by Robert Galbraith. I'm also reading Becoming, which is Michelle Obama's autobiography. I want to read the first in the Harry Potter series, The Sorcerer's Stone. I'm wanting to go back and reread all the Harry Potter books, just for fun. And I am also listening to Pride and Prejudice as an audiobook right now on Audible. So I want to hopefully finish that this month. Pulling in another strip of that champagne gold washi to cover up that purple line there, and then using the dotted lines as a guide for where to use my slice tool. And I'm just pulling in some more of that green coffee bean washi from the coffee shop Glam Planner kit to make another background for my next header. That is a leftover label from a Shop Jessica Hearts kit, I believe. And I'm just making a very small cut to even up the edges on that header. And using my Sharpie pen again to write in that I wanted to make this section my quote section for a sort of quote of the month, pulling out 2 more matching pieces of star deco from my Golden Hour foil binder bundle again, and using my tweezers to put those in place where I want them. And using my Pilot G2 in 0.38 to write in my quote for the month. It is a quote by William James. That says the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose, and I wanted to highlight the word choose. I'm doing a lot of work on making healthy and smart choices lately, to choose one thought over another. So I've been doing a lot of work with making choices and positive thinking lately. Again, that quote is by William James. And then I am moving on to that bottom section where I plan to indicate my weekly habits that I want to track. For each week, I want to track 4 habits. So I'll be starting by making a general header for this section, pulling in that more of that rose gold washi as a background for the header, using my cutting tool and my ruler to make sure that that's clean. And then I'm pulling in my Sharpie pen to write in the header name Weekly Habits. And I plan to track 4 things each week, I believe. Progress towards my Weight Watchers goals, connecting with friends and family, self-care, and one more thing that I can't remember right now. I'm pulling in 2 more pieces of deco from the Golden Hour binder bundle and using my tweezers to put those in place. And then I realized that I wanted those letters to be a little bit more bold since they were kind of hard to see against the rose gold washi. Next, I'm pulling in some leftover labels from Shop Jessica Hearts to make headers for each of the 4 weeks in the month of July. And here in just a second, I'll realize that I need to cut them down. So I wind up using only 2 of the green headers by cutting 2 of them in half and putting 2 back in my stash. There we go. Now I'm just working on placing each of those 4 headers equidistant from each other and making sure that they're straight against that top Weekly Habits header. I'm going to do a little bit of planner math here in a second to figure out where the midpoint is between these 2 headers on the end to figure out where I need to put the ones in the middle. That's what you see now, planner math. And then I think I eventually just wound up kind of eyeballing it because it just made more sense that way. There we go. Just moving that one over a bit to eyeball it. And then we're ready to finish off each of these checklists. I pulled 4 pink heart checklists left over from old Glam Planner kits and did some more planner math to figure out that I only need 4 heart checklists. So I lined the 4 longer checklists up to cut off the top 2 hearts all at the same time for the sake of efficiency. There we go. This is what you see now. I'm using my ruler and my slice tool to cut off the top 2 hearts on each of those 4 checklists to cut them down to the size that I need, since I only need to track 4 habits for each week in the month of July. And then I placed down those checklists, as you'll see in a second, alternating darker pink and lighter pink across the month. Then the last thing that I did is use my Sharpie pen to create a smaller header for each of the weeks, labeled week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And then the last thing that I did was write in each of the 4 habits that I want to track for each week, after I put in another piece of deco from the Golden Hour Foil Binder Bundle. Use my tweezers to place one piece of this foil at the end of every header. Now we're going to use my Pilot G2 and .38 to label each of the points in the checklists with the habits that I want to track. I want to track my Weight Watchers progress each week. doing self-care each day of the week for the entire month. Some sort of self-care, whether it's taking a bath, doing a face mask, sleeping in, eating healthy, taking care of my nails, things like that. The third habit that I'm going to track is making connections with friends and family, most likely over the phone or the internet or FaceTime, things like that. And the fourth habit that I want to track is reading. And that's about it for this July Notes Pages setup spread. I hope that you enjoyed. Please feel free to like, comment, share, leave any questions that you have below, and make sure to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Peace, love, and happy planning, everyone. Bye-bye.